Every pack turned away the disabled pup. The Omega carried him 10 miles through snow. Snow fell like silent whispers across the frozen land, coating the forests and mountains in white. The wind carried a bitter chill, cutting through layers of fur and cloth alike. In the heart of this harsh winter, the world of wolves and packs ruled by strength and fear stretched endlessly. Only the strongest survived, and only the feared prospered. Compassion was considered weakness. Lyra, an Omega of her pack, trudged through the snow with slow, careful steps. She was small and fragile compared to the other wolves of her pack. Her fur was thin, and her limbs untrained in the ways of battle. Most pack members avoided her, mocking her gentleness, her curiosity, and her unremarkable skills. Yet there was something in Lyra the others could not see, a quiet strength, a heart that understood suffering more than rage or dominance ever could. That morning she had been scavenging near the forest's edge when a small, trembling sound caught her attention. It was faint, almost swallowed by the wind, but her ears were sharp. She paused, tilting her head, and followed the whimper until she stumbled across the most pitiful sight she had ever seen. A tiny pup, his body weak and broken, lying half buried in snow. His fur was matted, one of his front legs bent at an odd angle, and his eyes, wide and fearful, seemed to plead for help. Lyra knelt beside him, careful not to startle him. "It's all right, you're safe now," she whispered softly. Her voice, gentle and soothing, cut through the biting wind, but the pup's trembling did not stop. It was as if the cold and the pain had rooted deep into his bones. She looked around. No other pack was near. The area was empty, save for the endless snow and the skeletal branches of the trees. No one would help him, and even if they did, they would likely reject him. Weak pups were not tolerated. The strong thrived, the weak perished. The rules of their world were cruel, yet they had existed for centuries without question. Lyra's heart clenched. She could not leave him here to die. She lifted the pup carefully, cradling him against her chest. His small body was like a feather, but the weight of responsibility pressed heavily on her. The snow was deep, the wind harsh, and her own strength limited, yet she refused to let him go. She began walking, each step a battle against the icy ground. Her claws slipped in the snow. Her breath formed clouds that vanished instantly into the cold air. The journey ahead was long, 10 miles to the nearest safe shelter, a small cave known to few, where wounded or rejected wolves could hide from hunters and rival packs. Lyra had made this journey many times, but carrying a fragile pup made it almost impossible. Hours passed. The snowstorm intensified. Winds howled like spirits mourning lost lives, and the forest seemed to shift under her feet, hiding dangers in every shadow. Wolves from rival packs roamed these lands, and some were known to kill anything weak that crossed their path. Lyra felt the danger in every bone of her body, yet she pressed on. She whispered to the pup constantly, telling him stories of warm fires and safe dens, of summer skies and gentle streams. She could not let him despair. "You are strong," she told him softly. "Even if others cannot see it, I know it." The pup, whose name she learned was Eirik, shivered and tried to move. His eyes, though cloudy with pain, seemed to recognize her kindness. He licked her cheek weakly, a small gesture that filled Lyra with warmth. She had never known a creature so fragile to hold such quiet courage. By midday, fatigue weighed heavily on her. Her legs burned, her lungs gasped for air, but she refused to stop. Every time she faltered, she looked down at Eirik's tiny face and felt renewed determination. The pack had taught her to hide weakness, to accept ridicule, but her heart would not allow cruelty. Not today, not ever. The journey became a test of endurance. Her boots sank deep into snowdrifts, and her arms ached from holding the pup. Her mind wandered to the stories her grandmother had once told her about the magical wolves of old, those who had power not from strength but from compassion. Those stories had always seemed distant, almost like fairy tales. But now, with Eirik in her arms and the storm around her, the words felt like a promise. Kindness could survive even in the harshest winter. As the sun began to set, casting a pale orange glow across the snow, Lyra finally reached the edge of the forest. Beyond it lay open plains, dangerous and unforgiving. She knew she would need to move quickly. Every shadow seemed alive, and she felt eyes watching her, hungry, calculating eyes. Wolves of rival packs often hunted at night, and she was far from home. Lyra rested for a moment, placing Eirik gently on her lap. She unwrapped a small bundle of dried meat she had saved from her morning hunt. "Eat," she said softly, offering it to him. The pup nibbled carefully, weak but willing. She watched him, heart swelling with hope. Maybe, just maybe, he would survive. But then a sound shattered the fragile calm, a low, rumbling growl from the tree line. Lyra froze, instincts kicking in. She could see nothing clearly. The shadows of the forest seemed to twist and pulse. The growl grew louder, closer, and her heart pounded. She wrapped her arms around Eirik, holding him protectively. A massive wolf stepped into view. Its fur was dark, almost black, and its eyes glowed with a strange, unnatural light. Lyra had never seen a wolf like this before. It was larger than any wolf she had ever known, and the air around it seemed to hum with power. Lyra's first instinct was to flee, but the pup would not survive the cold alone. She squared her shoulders, planting her feet firmly in the snow. "You will not touch him," she said, her voice steady despite her fear. The shadowy wolf studied her for a moment, tilting its head. It did not move aggressively, yet its presence alone filled the clearing with tension. Lyra felt the strange power emanating from it, a force that seemed almost magical. Her heart pounded not just with fear, but with something unfamiliar, curiosity, awe, and a flicker of recognition. Then the wolf shifted, disappearing into the shadows as silently as it had appeared. Lyra exhaled shakily, unsure if it had been real or a trick of her imagination. She tightened her hold on Eirik and resumed her journey. Night fell quickly, and the snowstorm returned with a vengeance. Visibility dropped to mere feet, and every step became treacherous. Lyra stumbled more than once, her exhaustion threatening to overwhelm her. Yet every time she faltered, she thought of the pup's tiny, trusting eyes, and she pushed herself forward. By midnight, she reached a small rocky outcrop that marked the entrance to the sanctuary she sought. A cave carved into the mountainside awaited, hidden from the eyes of hunters and rival packs. Relief surged through her body, but it was short-lived. From the darkness, another growl echoed, low and menacing. Lyra's pulse quickened. This one was closer than before. She could hear the crunch of snow beneath heavy paws. Whoever or whatever was approaching, it had found them. Lyra held Eirik close and whispered softly, "Stay calm, little one. We are almost safe." The shadow moved closer, and she caught sight of two glowing eyes in the darkness. Fear and determination collided inside her. She knew she could not outrun this creature, nor could she fight it successfully. Yet she refused to abandon Eirik, even if it meant risking her own life. Her mind raced. The stories of the magical wolves returned, those who tested the hearts of the brave, those who guarded sacred lands, those who could sense the purity of one's soul. Was this wolf one of them? A protector or a predator? The shadow stepped into the moonlight. Lyra froze. It was enormous, a wolf unlike any she had seen before, its black fur shimmering as if woven from the night itself. Its eyes glowed a soft, amber light, not filled with malice but with something else, curiosity, awareness, and recognition. Lyra's voice trembled, but she stood her ground. "We mean no harm. Please let us pass." For a long moment the wolf stared. Then silently it turned and vanished into the darkness, leaving Lyra and Eirik alone in the snow. Relief washed over her, mixed with awe. The journey was far from over, but they had survived this night. Finally, Lyra reached the cave. She set Eirik down gently, letting him curl up against the warmth of her body. She looked around the small shelter, noting the faint carvings on the walls and the remnants of fires long gone. This was a place of safety, hidden from the cruelty of the world outside. Lyra let herself breathe for the first time in hours. She stroked Irik's head, feeling the steady rise and fall of his tiny body. "We made it," she whispered. "You are safe now for tonight." Outside, the wind continued to howl and the snow fell endlessly. Lyra knew the journey ahead would be harder than this night. Rival packs, dark magic, and ancient curses waited for those who dared to show kindness. But she would not falter. She had carried him 10 miles through snow, and she would carry him through whatever lay ahead. As she closed her eyes, exhausted, a faint shadow moved along the cave's entrance. Eyes glimmered in the moonlight, watching silently. Lyra did not notice, lost in sleep, unaware that their journey had already attracted the attention of a powerful force, one that would change their lives forever. The frozen wind whispered through the trees, carrying a warning and a promise. This was only the beginning. The storm had passed, leaving the world beneath a blanket of untouched snow. The forest, once alive with whispering winds, now lay silent. Even the trees seemed to hold their breath, waiting. Lyra stirred, blinking against the soft glow of dawn that filtered into the cave. Irik lay curled beside her, his small chest rising and falling with each fragile breath. Relief washed over her. They had survived the night, but something in her chest told her this was only the beginning. Outside the cave, the snow crunched softly under heavy paws. Lyra froze. Her ears pricked instinctively, sensing the approach of a large, measured presence. It was not the wild, erratic steps of a scavenger or rival pack. No, these were the careful, controlled steps of something far more powerful. "Stay close, Irik," she whispered, pulling the pup closer. The shadow moved into the mouth of the cave, framed by the pale morning light. Lyra's breath caught. The wolf that stepped forward was enormous, larger than any she had ever seen. Its fur was dark as midnight, sleek and glinting, and its eyes shone amber, intense and intelligent. This was no ordinary wolf. This was a creature that radiated authority, danger, and something almost human. Lyra took a small step back, though she kept Irik protected against her chest. Who are you?" she asked, her voice steady despite the tremor in her limbs. The wolf did not answer immediately. It tilted its head, studying her as if weighing her worth. Then slowly, it shifted into a form that was both wolf and man, tall and strong, cloaked in a dark mantle that shimmered like the night sky. His eyes remained the same amber glow, piercing and unreadable. "I am Ronan," he said, his voice low and commanding yet strangely calm. "Alpha of the Shadow Pack, you should not be here." Lyra's heart pounded. An alpha, the Alpha King, as the stories had called him, standing in front of her, watching her with unreadable expression. She had heard the tales. A leader feared across the frozen lands, rumored to wield powers few could imagine, cursed by forces no one dared speak of openly. I am Lyra," she said, refusing to let fear control her. "This pup, he was abandoned. I was only trying to save him." Ronan's gaze flicked to Irik. The pup shivered, small and fragile, but there was a faint glow in his eyes, almost imperceptible, like a spark waiting to ignite. Ronan's expression tightened, a flicker of something almost sorrowful passing over his features. "You carry more than just a wounded pup," he said slowly, his voice heavy with meaning. "There is a bond here, one I did not expect." Lyra frowned. "Bond? What do you mean?" Ronan stepped closer, but not threateningly. His eyes never left the pup. "This child is cursed," he said. "And yet he is not weak. He carries a strength that even I can feel. It is dangerous for him to be seen, dangerous for you as well." Lyra's heart skipped. She had only known the physical fragility of Irik, not any curse. Dangerous? What kind of danger? Ronan's eyes darkened. "Packs who hunt the cursed child. Wolves who kill for fear or greed. You have already carried him through 10 miles of snow, but that is only the beginning. If you continue alone, you will not survive the night." Lyra's shoulders stiffened. "I can survive." I've carried him this far, I can go further. Ronan studied her silently, a shadow of a smile flickering at the corner of his lips. You are brave, but bravery without skill is foolish. You underestimate the dangers beyond this forest. I cannot let you proceed alone. Lyra's pulse raced. Then you will come with me, she asked cautiously. She did not like relying on others. She had always been alone, overlooked, and underestimated. Yet something about him, something about the way he moved, the careful control of his power, told her he was different from anyone she had ever met. Ronan nodded once. I will come, but do not mistake my presence for mercy. This journey will test you both. I will not carry your burden for you. You must prove your strength, your heart, if you wish to survive. Lyra swallowed, holding Eirik closer. She felt both fear and relief. She did not understand this man, this alpha, but she knew he was powerful beyond imagining. And perhaps, for the first time, she did not feel entirely alone. The three of them moved carefully through the snow, Lyra supporting Eirik, Ronan flanking them like a shadow. The wind whispered around them, carrying the chill of the mountains and the faint scent of danger. As they walked, Lyra noticed something strange. Eirik's eyes would sometimes flicker with a golden glow when he looked at Ronan. The pup shivered but did not cry, as if some unspoken recognition existed between them. Lyra's curiosity grew, though she did not dare ask aloud. Ronan's voice broke the silence. Do you know what this child represents? He asked quietly, not looking at her but staring straight ahead. Lyra shook her head. No, I don't understand. He's just a puppy, just a small, abandoned pup. Ronan's amber eyes softened, though his voice remained serious. He is much more than that. His fate is tied to forces older than any pack, and my own curse, my own darkness, may yet be linked to him. That is why I am here. Lyra's chest tightened. A connection between Ronan and Eirik. What could it mean? She had always believed that strength came from physical power, but perhaps there was more to the world than she had been taught. The wind grew colder, sharper, slicing through the layers of fur and cloth. The forest thinned, giving way to jagged cliffs and icy plains. Each step became harder, the snow deeper and the air thinner. Lyra felt her exhaustion pressing against her will, but she refused to falter. Eirik needed her. Hours passed. They were silent, moving with careful precision. Ronan occasionally glanced back, his expression unreadable, ensuring no danger approached from behind. Lyra noticed that despite his stern presence, he never touched Eirik or interfered unnecessarily. He was protective, yes, but he allowed her to care for the pup. As night fell, the world transformed. The moon rose, casting pale silver light across the snow. Shadows stretched long and twisted, and the wind carried strange, whispering voices, as if the forest itself were alive with ancient magic. Suddenly, a howl split the night, echoing across the mountains. Lyra froze, her heart pounding. Ronan's posture stiffened, his ears alert. The howl was not alone. Others answered it, a chorus of growls and cries from unknown wolves. They were close. They are hunting us, Ronan said, his voice low, almost a growl itself. You must move faster, trust me. We cannot face them head-on. Lyra's legs shook with exhaustion, but she pressed on. Every step was agony, every breath a struggle. Yet she felt a strange sense of determination, fueled by the presence of both Eirik and Ronan. She had carried him 10 miles through snow once. She would not fail now. As they reached a ridge, the full moon illuminated a frozen river below. Ice stretched as far as the eye could see, glinting like shattered glass. Crossing it was dangerous, but it was the only path to safety. Ronan stepped onto the ice first, testing its stability. Follow me carefully, he said. One wrong move and you will fall. Lyra nodded, pressing Eirik close. She placed one foot cautiously in front of the other. The ice groaned beneath her weight, cracks spreading like spider webs. Her heart raced, fear and adrenaline blending into a strange clarity. Halfway across, the ice shivered beneath her. A distant howl reached them again, louder now, filled with hunger and malice. Lyra looked up and saw shadowy figures emerging at the river's edge, wolves from a rival pack, their eyes glowing in the darkness. Panic surged, but she forced herself to stay calm. "Eirik, hold on. We will not let them harm you," she whispered, her voice trembling but resolute. Ronan's presence beside her was steadying. "Do not fear," he said. "I will protect you. Keep moving." The ice cracked beneath their combined weight. For a terrifying moment, it seemed as if they would plunge into the frozen river below. Lyra clutched Eirik tighter, praying silently, and Ronan's strength and presence shielded them from disaster. Finally, they reached the other side. The rival pack howled in frustration but did not pursue further. Lyra sank to her knees, gasping for breath. Eirik nestled against her, shivering but safe. Ronan stood over them, his gaze sharp and calculating. "This is only the beginning," he said. "More dangers await, and the child, he will draw them all. You must be ready." Lyra looked up at him, exhaustion and determination mingling in her eyes. "I will protect him," she said simply, "no matter what comes." Ronan's expression softened slightly, almost imperceptibly. "Then we shall see if courage and compassion can truly survive in a world ruled by power and fear." As the night deepened, the wind whispered through the mountains once more. Shadows danced along the cliffs, and somewhere far off, unseen eyes watched. Lyra did not know it yet, but this journey would change her forever, and bind her fate to the mysterious Alpha, to Eirik, and to a power far older than any pack law or curse. The forest lay silent again, but the sense of watching, waiting, and ancient magic lingered. The path ahead was uncertain, treacherous, and full of mystery, but Lyra had chosen to walk it, carrying hope, courage, and the fragile pup she had sworn to protect. The frozen plains stretched endlessly before them, lit by the pale glow of dawn. Snow sparkled like scattered diamonds, but the beauty of the landscape offered no comfort. The world beyond the forest was merciless, and every step forward was a test of courage, strength, and will. Lyra trudged through the deep snow, Eirik nestled carefully against her chest. His small form shivered, though he no longer cried. She whispered to him constantly, telling stories of warm fires, summer skies, and gentle streams, trying to keep his spirits alive. Every word she spoke, every step she took, reminded her why she could not fail. Ronan moved silently beside her, a shadow of power and control. His presence was steady, unyielding, and protective. Though he rarely spoke, his amber eyes constantly scanned the horizon, alert for any sign of danger. Lyra noticed how he moved with effortless authority, every motion deliberate, as if the land itself responded to him. Hours passed, and the journey became harder. Snowdrifts rose above their knees, and the wind cut like a blade across their faces. Eirik grew restless, his small whimpers breaking the silence. Lyra stopped and knelt, brushing a strand of snow-covered fur from his eyes. "You are stronger than you think," she whispered, her voice soft but filled with conviction. "We will reach safety, I promise." The pup looked at her with wide, trusting eyes, and for a moment, Lyra felt a warmth in her heart that even the cold could not touch. She realized that courage was not about power or speed, it was about the heart. And this tiny, fragile creature held more courage than many wolves she had ever known. Suddenly, a low growl rolled across the snow. Lyra froze. Ronan's posture shifted instantly, his muscles tensing. Shadows moved at the edge of the plains, figures dark against the white expanse. Rival packs. They had tracked them, drawn by the pup's strange aura. Lyra's pulse quickened, but she did not panic. She clutched Eirik tighter and took a deep breath. "We can't outrun them," she whispered. "What do we do?" Ronan's voice was calm, though his eyes were sharp. "We face them not with violence but with strategy. Follow my lead." He stepped forward, and the ground beneath his paws seemed to respond, the snow hardening where he walked. Lyra watched, awed, as the Alpha's presence seemed to shape the world around him. She followed cautiously, trusting him entirely, though the fear in her chest remained. The rival wolves approached, their howls piercing the cold air. Lyra could feel their malice, their hunger, their instinct to hunt. But Ronan did not flee. He positioned himself between Lyra and the threat, his shadow falling over the pup like a protective shield. "Stay behind me," he said. "Do not speak unless I command it. The moment you panic, they will sense it." Lyra obeyed, heart pounding as she watched the tension between the packs build. The enemy wolves circled, growling and snapping at the air. The pup whimpered but did not struggle, as if he too understood that fear would betray them. Then, as if sensing the danger, Irik's eyes glowed faintly. A soft, golden light shimmered around him, subtle but undeniable. Lyra gasped. Ronan's eyes widened and he glanced at her, a flicker of astonishment crossing his face. "He is more than I imagined," Ronan murmured. "The child's power is awakening." The rival pack paused, reacting to the subtle shift in the air. Wolves, even the fiercest, could sense magic. They growled, uncertain, circling closer but hesitant. Lyra held her breath, realizing that the pup's courage and something else, something ancient, was beginning to manifest. Ronan's stance remained firm, but his voice was now a low command, almost a whisper to the snow itself. "Go, leave this place." The rival wolves hesitated, then slowly retreated, sensing the unspoken power in Ronan and the child. The plains fell silent again, except for the sound of Lyra's ragged breaths. She looked at Ronan, awe and relief mingling. "You saved us," she said softly. Ronan shook his head. "No, the child saved us, and you would have fought without faltering. That is why you survive." Lyra's chest swelled. For the first time, someone recognized her courage as more than simple defiance. She had always felt small, weak, and overlooked. Now, standing beside the alpha, holding the pup who had survived abandonment and danger, she realized strength could take many forms. The journey continued, the frozen plains eventually giving way to jagged mountains. Snowstorms returned, harsh and relentless, whipping against their faces and threatening to push them off their path. Yet Lyra pressed on, Irik cradled against her chest, Ronan close behind. They reached a narrow gorge carved by ice and time. A river, frozen and treacherous, cut through the valley below. Crossing it would be dangerous, but it was the only path forward. Ronan moved first, testing the ice with deliberate steps. Lyra followed, careful, every muscle tense. The ice groaned beneath their weight, cracks spreading like fine lines across its surface. Halfway across, a sudden snap echoed. Lyra froze. The ice trembled, threatening to give way. She clutched Irik, whispering comfort, as Ronan moved beside her, steadying her without touching the pup. His presence alone gave her courage. They crossed safely, but Lyra's legs trembled, exhaustion pressing heavily. Ronan glanced at her, his expression unreadable, but his amber eyes softened briefly. "You are remarkable," he said quietly. "Few would endure what you have, carrying a life so fragile through this storm." Lyra's cheeks flushed. She looked down at Irik, who yawned and nuzzled her neck. "I only do what I must," she said softly. He needs me." Ronan did not respond, but she sensed approval in the slight tilt of his head. His silence spoke volumes, as it always did. As night fell again, they set up a small camp in a sheltered canyon. Lyra prepared a small meal for the pup, while Ronan kept watch, his eyes scanning the dark horizon. The wind howled, carrying with it the faint scent of unseen dangers, wolves, magic, and perhaps something older, waiting beyond the mountains. Irik fell asleep quickly, comforted by Lyra's warmth. Lyra sat beside him, brushing his fur gently. "You've been through so much," she whispered, "but I promise you will not be alone again." Ronan sat a few paces away, his gaze fixed on the horizon. Lyra noticed a faint tension in his shoulders, a weight he carried even in stillness. She did not know his past, nor the curse that haunted him, but she sensed the pain behind his power, the loneliness beneath the authority. "Ronan," she said softly, hesitant, why are you helping us?" He turned to her, his amber eyes sharp yet unreadable. "Because I cannot ignore what is right. The child, He is connected to me in ways you cannot yet understand. And you have the courage to protect him when most would fail. That is why I follow." Lyra's chest tightened. She had always thought courage alone could not survive in a world ruled by fear and strength. Yet here she was, walking beside the most powerful alpha in the land, carrying a pup no one else would save. Perhaps courage could survive if it was paired with heart. Hours passed and sleep finally overtook Lyra. She dreamed of golden light and shadows, of wolves howling in unison, and a voice whispering her name. She saw visions of the pup growing strong, of Ronan standing beside her, and of paths stretching into unknown lands filled with both danger and wonder. Morning came with a pale sun, casting light across the snow-covered mountains. Lyra awoke to find Ronan gone from the camp, though Eirik stirred, sensing nothing amiss. She ventured outside, scanning the landscape, and caught sight of him atop a ridge, looking far into the distance. His stance was thoughtful, almost sorrowful, as if he carried the weight of centuries on his shoulders. Lyra approached quietly. "Ronan, what are you thinking?" He did not turn immediately. "The path ahead is treacherous," he said finally. "There are forces that will test all of us, fire, ice, and magic older than any pack law. You must be ready, Lyra. Your courage alone will not be enough. You will need your heart, your mind, and the bond you share with the child." Lyra nodded, determination sparking in her chest. "Then we will face it together." Ronan finally looked at her, his gaze piercing, and for the first time something like trust or perhaps understanding passed between them. "Together," he repeated. Suddenly, a distant roar echoed through the mountains. Lyra's heart skipped. It was not a wolf. It was something larger, older, and far more dangerous. Eirik stirred, eyes glowing faintly as if recognizing the sound. Ronan's posture stiffened. "This is no ordinary danger," he said. "Prepare yourself. The trials are about to begin." Lyra held the pup tighter, her breath forming clouds in the icy air. She had carried him through storms, threats, and snow, and she would carry him through whatever was coming next. But the roar reminded her of the vastness of the world beyond their path, the powers they could not yet understand, and the shadows that waited for mistakes, fear, or weakness. As the wind swept across the mountains, carrying the echo of ancient power, Lyra realized that their journey was no longer just about survival. It was about discovery, courage, and transformation for herself, for the pup, and perhaps for the mysterious alpha who walked beside her. The trials were only beginning. The mountains seemed endless, their icy peaks slicing the sky, white and silent under the pale light of the moon. Lyra trudged through the snow, her arms tired, her legs aching, but her spirit unbroken. Eirik, small and fragile, was nestled against her chest, his golden eyes flickering faintly in the dim light. They had come far, faced storms, rival packs, and dangers untold, but the greatest trial still awaited. Ronan moved beside her, silent and steady, his amber eyes scanning the horizon. His presence was a shield, his power unmistakable, yet there was a weight to him now, something heavier than the burden of leadership. He carried more than authority. He carried the shadows of his curse, of his past, and of the destiny that tied him to the child. Ahead, a crystalline cavern glimmered, half hidden behind a curtain of ice. Its walls sparkled like shattered stars, reflecting moonlight in dazzling patterns. This was the sanctuary the legend spoke of, a place where curses could be broken, where magic older than any pack could be tamed. Lyra's heart trembled. "This is it," Ronan said quietly. "Inside, the trials will test more than strength. They will test your heart, Lyra, and the bond you share with the child." Lyra nodded, determination sparking in her chest. "I'm ready," she said. "I will do whatever it takes." Ronan studied her, eyes softening for the briefest moment. "Courage alone will not be enough. You will need empathy, clarity, and the trust you have in each other. Only then can the curse be undone." The trio stepped into the cavern. The air was electric, vibrating with power that seemed almost alive. Light shimmered across the walls, revealing ancient carvings of wolves and humans, of battles fought and lives changed, of magic wielded by those who came before. The cavern seemed to pulse, resonating with the presence of Eirik, whose small body glowed faintly with an unspoken energy. The entrance closed behind them with a soft rumble, sealing them in. Lyra's pulse quickened. She glanced at the pup, whose tiny body quivered, yet his eyes glimmered with determination. She knew he understood this was no ordinary place. From the shadows, a figure emerged, tall, shimmering, and translucent. A wolf spirit, ancient and regal, its fur silver and eyes luminous, radiated a calm authority that commanded the cavern itself. "Welcome," the spirit said, its voice like wind over ice. "You have come far, little ones. But only those who face their deepest fears may leave unchanged." Lyra swallowed. "What do we need to do?" she asked, her voice steady, though a shiver ran through her. The spirit's gaze swept over her, then Eirik, then Ronan. "To break the curse, you must confront what binds you. Fear, doubt, and rage must be faced and accepted. Only through unity, courage, and heart can the path be opened." Lyra glanced at Ronan. He nodded once silently. "We face it together," he said. The cavern shifted. Shadows stretched into shapes that mirrored Lyra's deepest fears: rejection, weakness, the cruelty of her pack. Eirik whimpered, small golden lights dancing around him, forming protective patterns. Lyra knelt, placing him gently on the cavern floor. "You are safe," she whispered. "Trust me, trust us." A shadow lunged toward her, a vision of herself, small and mocked, alone in a world that despised her. Lyra faltered, fear gripping her heart, but she breathed deeply, focusing on Eirik, on Ronan, on the bond they shared. "I am not alone," she said aloud, her voice strong. "I am not weak. I am brave, and I protect those I love." The shadow hesitated, then dissolved, leaving only the glowing light of the cavern. Lyra felt a warmth spread through her chest, a sense of power she had never known before. Courage was not the absence of fear, it was the choice to act in spite of it. Next, Ronan stepped forward. Shadows of his past and of his curse appeared, failures, anger, and moments when he had hurt others through his own darkness. His amber eyes darkened, the weight of centuries pressing on him. "You must forgive yourself," Lyra said softly. "You do not have to carry it alone." Ronan's gaze met hers. For a moment the cavern seemed still, as if waiting. Then he exhaled slowly, and the shadows around him trembled and faded. His body relaxed, and a warmth spread from him, intertwining with the glow around Eirik. The pup stepped forward, small and hesitant, yet confident. A vision appeared before him, the fear of being rejected, alone and powerless. Lyra knelt beside him, holding his tiny paw. "You are brave," she whispered, "stronger than anyone who turned away from you. You belong and you are loved." Eirik's golden glow brightened, filling the cavern. The shadows dissolved, leaving only warmth and light. The wolf spirit watched silently, its expression serene. "You have faced your trials," the spirit said. "You have shown courage, heart, and unity. The curse is lifted." A soft light enveloped Ronan and the pup, intertwining around them like threads of gold. Lyra watched, tears in her eyes, as the energy settled. The pup, once frail and broken, now stood taller, his glow steady. Ronan's amber eyes, once shadowed with curse and darkness, now held a calm strength, tempered by empathy and understanding. Lyra's chest swelled with pride and relief. Together, they had survived storms, rival packs, and magic older than any law. Together, they had faced fear, darkness, and doubt, and emerged stronger. Ronan stepped closer to Lyra, his gaze soft but intense. "You have changed me," he said quietly. "I have seen courage, compassion, and strength in ways I never imagined. You are remarkable, Lyra." Lyra's cheeks flushed. We all changed," she said softly. "Even Eirik, even you." The pup nuzzled her hand, eyes bright and lively. He had survived abandonment, storms, rival wolves, and the trials of the cavern. Now he thrived, a symbol of their courage and unity. Outside the cavern, the first light of dawn touched the mountains. The frozen world seemed less harsh, less dangerous, as if the snow itself reflected the transformation within them. Lyra breathed deeply, feeling the wind not as a threat, but as a gentle whisper of possibility. Ronan looked at her, his expression unreadable, yet something vulnerable flickered in his eyes. "The world beyond is still harsh," he said, "but together we are stronger. Fear, anger, and darkness no longer control us." Lyra smiled, a mix of relief and newfound confidence shining in her eyes. "Then let's go forward together. No matter what comes next, we face it as one." For the first time in her life, Lyra felt truly powerful, not because of strength or dominance, but because of her heart, her courage, and the love she had for the tiny, brave pup she carried. Ronan stepped closer, reaching out, not with authority but with quiet trust. "You've taught me something I thought I would never know," he said. "That power is not only in strength but in heart." Lyra looked at him, warmth blooming between them. "And you've taught me that courage is not just surviving, it's protecting, believing, and never giving up." The pup yipped happily, small but full of life, as if approving their words. The three of them, Lyra, Ronan, and Eirik, stood together in the glow of the rising sun, a new day breaking over the frozen mountains. But even as warmth filled their hearts, the wolf spirit returned, shimmering in the dawn light. Its gaze was calm, yet its voice carried an echo of prophecy. "This is only the beginning," it said. "The world is larger, older, and more magical than you can imagine. You have passed the trials of courage, heart, and unity, but the story of Lyra, Ronan, and the child has only begun." Lyra looked at Ronan, then at Eirik, and nodded. She did not fear what lay ahead. They had faced storms, rival packs, darkness, and magic. They had grown, transformed, and survived. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The sun rose fully, casting light over the icy peaks, the snow sparkling like a field of stars. Lyra tightened her hold on Eirik, Ronan at her side, and for the first time she felt the full weight and beauty of her journey. The frozen winds whispered promises of new adventures, challenges, and discoveries, but Lyra felt ready. She had courage, heart, and love. She had survived, she had grown, and together they would face whatever came next. The mountains were vast, the world dangerous, and the future uncertain, but they had each other, and that was enough. And somewhere beyond the peaks, the wind carried the faintest echo of magic, of trials yet to come, and of stories waiting to be written. Lyra smiled, Eirik nuzzled against her, and Ronan's gaze softened. Their journey was far from over, but for the first time, hope burned brighter than fear, and courage brighter than darkness.